the broadcast.
All right, guys, what's going on? It is time for two dads again, talk theme parks. Our third dad tonight is actually in one of the theme parks, celebrating some time with his daughter. Rusty had the opportunity to go spend some time in the parks, and I am envious of him tonight, enjoying that time. I personally am 3 weeks away, and I know you just had some exciting travel experiences as well, not necessarily theme parks, but got to enjoy some stuff. And I meant to mention just a moment ago, off camera, I need you to remind me of Second City when we get off camera again, because I have a question about that with you.
Sure.
But tonight, there was a lot of breaking news this week. There's been a lot of headlines. And of course, as you saw in our incorrectly punctuated slide at the front with a couple of extra commas, what do you see? And we are going to talk COVID, concerns, compassion, caring, all kinds of stuff tonight. And
we're going to keep the politics out of it.
Yeah, no, non-political, more policy. And
Yes.
Things that are being mandated that are going to affect you as a guest at parks, and where compassion and care go a long way with cast members or team members, and remembering that they too, it's not necessarily a personal choice of theirs. They are equally following the rules, just as you are going to be asked to do when entering a park. And by purchasing and agreeing to the terms of that ticket, you agree to those rules. So making
it's a contract.
Correct.
It's a contract. You agree to the contract.
Yep. And when you make us think about it, you're making yourself look bad and creating a bad situation for yourself, whether you agree with the rules or not. By setting foot into a private company's property, you agree to their rules, whether you personally agree or not. And you need to make sure you take that attitude of making the cast members and team members' job easier by complying accordingly. That being said, Disney announced starting July 30th, which is now a few days ago, that they would require masks indoors on all transportation and in ride queues. Some cast members, from what I've heard, have been pretty relaxed about letting people step into the queue outside and not enforcing the mask rule until they're indoors. I have a funny feeling it's going to become, as soon as you are in line, you need to put on a mask, because I think it's going to be the easiest way to keep the policy clear cut. And as things start to happen, I think my guess is that's the road they're going to go down. I don't know your thoughts on that, Ron, but
I agree. I think Disney's watching what's happening. I can't speak to Universal, but with my many contacts at Disney, they're watching what's happening, and they really want to kind of mirror as much as they can as appropriate CDC guidelines. So you can expect, if you hear, and they want to give people an opportunity, those that are there in the parks, those that are planning to come, if they say, hey, guess what? Now we're requiring masks inside or indoors in queues. That way, okay, I need to pack some of these. Or if you're there, okay, I need to make sure I have access to these, because people are now, at least before last week, we're starting to travel without masks, kind of presuming safely. Most places you went, they had a mask for if you didn't have one. If you go into an airport, if you go into a theme park, a restaurant, many of these places actually have boxes of the disposable surgical masks for people to help themselves too. So that's changing for the time being.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, and you mentioned Universal. Universal's policy is, as of today, they are recommending guests wear masks indoors, vaccinated or not. It is a recommendation, not a mandate. They are not enforcing mask wearing. It is being left to choice. So just so people are aware, that is where Universal is at the moment. Now, all this, like everything for the last 16 months, is all very fluid and can change on a dime.
Yeah.
That is to include park capacities. That is to include they may return to social distancing measures if numbers continue to increase. Right now, I have friends at Disney today. You are still filling in all available space. You are still you're wearing your mask, but they are not distancing parties. They are not forcing you to be apart. You can, just for your own knowledge, when it comes to like the Skyliner, you can still request a cabin by yourself. You will be adjoined with other people currently. They will be required to wear masks, as everybody should be. But based on your comfort, you could still ask a cast member to ride alone with your party. And 9 times out of 10, they are going to grant that for you. So there are definite facets of all of this that, again, the biggest thing I would recommend to you is travel based with your comfort. There are a lot of, in addressing with the 3 C's, like you're going to have concerns, you're going to care, and your comfort. Weigh out what is going to be making you most comfortable when you travel. If you are going to spend your entire vacation concerned, upset, stressed out, anxiety ridden because people invade your space too close, you're going where thousands of people are going to go. If you don't want people within 6 feet of you, don't go to Disney. Don't go to Universal. Even when the policies were in place, people still don't follow it to the guideline that you may want.
Right.
So when you're putting that many people in a space, you've got to be ready to be disappointed with the level of respect you're going to get as far as people giving you additional space.
Right.
They're going to fill it in. They're going to walk by you. They're going to snap by you. Like, people are going to breathe on you. They're going to turn and cough. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're going where there are thousands of people. If you are not comfortable with that concept, consider canceling or delaying your trip. That's the best recommendation I can give you. I know people don't want to hear that. I know financially people don't want to hear that, but that unfortunately is the reality. Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to let Ron talk, and I am going to address something with one of my dogs.
Yes. To add to the C's, I'm going to add courtesy as well. Remember, no matter what's going on and no matter what you're doing, be courteous, be kind, be considerate. Everybody right now is dealing with the same set of circumstances. And what Brian said, if you're uncomfortable with that, consider canceling and rescheduling. And what I've noticed is some of the airlines are now putting back into place the flight changes, cancellations, modifications without fee. So just be level-headed. I mean, there's another C there, which is common sense. Exercise a little bit of that when you step through your days, because everybody is dealing with this. And we were talking about this off air right before the show started. This is Brave New World stuff for us. We've never, in our lifetimes, haven't seen or experienced anything like this. So we all have to be adaptable. We all have to be able to manage, but we all have to remember to be nice to one another. And see, the dog even agrees with me. So I don't need.
Getting snippy.
Even the dogs are upset about it. Just be mindful, but also be adaptable and be ready for if you've got a 2-week holiday plan to one of the parks or to the Central Florida area. Be ready for things to change overnight. Be ready to find out that you arrive on a Friday and you find out that Sunday someplace you want to go to is going to institute a policy. And what they're doing, what they are all doing, almost to an operation, is there. It doesn't matter whether you've been vaccinated or not. They still want you to wear a mask if that's the mandate they put in place. So be aware of that. Don't be combative. If you got the shot, still play by the rules. And it really, honestly, it makes it better for everybody.
I agree 100%. And I think also, good evening, Frank. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Frank.
I think one of the things people forget in all this too is there's such, like we're all excited to take the vacation. And I think one of the biggest misnomers that I've seen so many people, when they look at their Disney vacation or their Universal vacation or anything, is they put the preconceived notion of the magic, the experience, and everything else all ahead of the game. And then when they get to Florida and it rains for an hour and a half and 2 hours in the afternoon, or they don't get their boarding pass for Rise of the Resistance, or they have to wait an hour for the Skyliner to get to the park when they wanted to be there right at rope drop. And all these little factors that can add to the inconvenience of your plan and not keeping you right on your timeline. And with Disney especially, Disney is one of those, the diehards have their Excel spreadsheets of 10:05 Slinky Dog, 10:32 reservation at Brown Derby. I'm going to be at Oga's at 11:14 and then do, Millennium Falcon at 12:02. They think all this is going to work out. And when the timeline doesn't, they take it out with their frustration,
right?
Their feelings of it not being right, of it not being correct. And I think that's a big problem for a lot of people. And right now, when you really need the flexibility more than ever because of how policies are changing so frequently, it's even harder for people because now they've been cooped up. Now they thought it was going to be a certain way. Yeah. Now they're getting told it's going to be another way. There's a level of disappointment. There's a level of frustration. Cast members equally, they just got accustomed to working one way.
That's right.
Now new rules come in, new shift policies, new things that they have to be responsible to tell guests or watch for with guests that they've recently been relaxed of. So all these factors play huge roles in everyone's mood. So if you don't take the time to consider that factor and remember it and really be fluid right now, or if you have that preconceived notion of how you need your vacation to go in order to enjoy it, this is the time where you want to delay that vacation. You want to put it on hold because there's too many questions that are just unanswered right now. If you're willing to gamble with that and you're one of those people that can kind of roll with the punches and you're still going to have fun no matter what, and you can lower your expectations and your needs a little bit, you can still have a great time at a theme park wearing a mask.
Honestly, I agree. You're going to have a great time as long as you will allow yourself to be flexible. The people, as Brian pointed out, who put together those spreadsheets and they block everything down to the minute. The challenge is always the unrealistic expectation of the spreadsheet. One thing can go wrong. You book Kilimanjaro Safari, for example, at Disney's Animal Kingdom, but suddenly you've got a rhino right there in the middle of the road who's decided he wants nothing more than to rub his horn up and down on the bumper of the vehicle. They can't do anything except sit there and wait. And then the rhino goes and, there's a couple of ostriches. So now your ride is turned into a multi-hour event. You just have to be willing to be flexible. And certainly, don't get mad at the people that are working there. You have to remember this. This is super important. Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Legoland, all of these parks, Busch Gardens included, they've been planning to very slowly ramp things up to whatever a a normal looks like. They've got after hour events that they're starting to sell tickets for and plan for with activations and things like that. And with the numbers and with the new CDC guidelines, it's causing some of the people who are involved in the planning part of that to say, okay, wait a minute, what do we need to do now? What do we need to do? So just I'm not saying don't go. If you're okay with I can't be around these people, I'm going to step outside for some fresh air, but you got to get your theme park fix, and then definitely go. But just be flexible.
Correct. And the other side of that too is, remember, these theme parks are still short staffed. And when you go to restaurants, just because you have we found this out in April. We had 3 p.m. reservations. We didn't get sat for until 4:30. And that throws a wrench in your day. You're going to do a sit down. Right. You get to the restaurant, you expect to be in and out in 90 minutes, and you have to wait 90 minutes for your table. And that's another 90 minutes. Now you're 3 hours in. You might have a dinner reservation a half hour after you eat your lunch.
It's not just the restaurants. It's your transportation. It's your merchandise locations. It's your attractions. It's your resorts. Everybody is struggling because there's a deficit of staffing.
Correct. But I think you see it and feel it more generally in the restaurants. And the biggest frustration I hear from the consumer, and that I see posted in groups, is that they see empty tables. And that one always makes me laugh because I worked in restaurants for years. I managed restaurants.
Right.
I worked as a waiter. I worked as a bartender. If my restaurant can seat 400 people, but my cook can only put out 100 covers an hour, there's no sense me seating all my tables.
That's right. I'm going to
fill 100 seats because that's what I can feed. And if I don't have the servers to properly service those tables, I'm going to lower my seating regulations. If I don't have the hosts, the bussers, the entire staff around that. So when people walk into a restaurant and I see them post, there was 15 empty tables in this place. Disney has huge facilities. If they normally run 4 cooks in a restaurant and they have 2, they're going to seat half the people. Those cooks can't handle the volume that used to be done for a restaurant that has 400 seats with only 2 cooks.
And I want to just jump in and share real quickly. It's not necessarily a matter of people don't want to work. The hospitality industry in general, you name it, anything having to do with it, has seen the largest exodus of staffing into either other lines of business, or they've become either gig entrepreneurs, or they've started their own business. A lot of people had decided that they want to take their lives, their responsibilities, their financial freedom into their own hands. So some of these people getting calls from Disney to come back, getting calls from Universal to come back, and other places to come back, and they said, you know what, I've made other choices. So they're all struggling.
Correct. I'll give you some quick numbers that a lot of people don't realize about the restaurant industry. 1 in 10 Americans works in hospitality in a restaurant or bar. 1 in 10. 10% of the population.
Is that pre-pandemic?
Pre-pandemic.
Right.
1 in 10 Americans worked in hospitality. Now, when you get your unemployment ratio based on the percentages of what you make, sadly, most restaurant servers or people in tip positions don't always claim everything they make. So their income appears to be lower than what it actually is. Now, that can hurt you when you go to file for unemployment and they adjust your number of unemployment based on your income. I know there's a lot of people in this area in New England, and I know some people in Chicago, I know people in California that dealt with the same thing, that their unemployment, even with the added money, didn't come close to being able to cover their monthly expenses at all. Most servers are getting paid between $2 and $7 an hour plus their tips. So it's not a high income ratio.
Right.
You know, that has now changed. I think it's up to 352 is now the national minimum that servers tip positions can get paid, but that's still ridiculously low.
It,
You know,
it, it is. It's obnoxious. It's
so
offensive.
so when you think about those numbers though, the people that were able to stay on unemployment and afford to stay there, and I'm not knocking anybody because I myself was one of those people that had to stay on unemployment, and I'm still getting it because my DJ business has not returned to the volume it was pre-pandemic. So I still get partial unemployment. But the people that stayed on unemployment or could afford to, a lot of those servers couldn't. So those are people that did innovate, create, wind up in other jobs, or they were victimized by the 50% of sit-down restaurants that were forced to close during the pandemic in the United States. Half of US sit-down restaurants had to close during the pandemic. The numbers are staggering when you actually get into it. And that also leaves people fearful to go back into that business when everything's opening back up. Because if there's a second lockdown, what if the restaurant you just transferred to goes somewhere else?
Yeah.
So it made a lot of those people, 10% of Americans, rethink their career and look for work in other places. And people were so desperate for help. Restaurant workers that normally may not have had options to go to other places suddenly had options. And now they're in positions and got jobs where they are making more money. And for them to return would not be profitable. So the decision-making process, again, it's not a generation of people necessarily that are saying, I want my extra unemployment, we'll be fine after September 4th. There's a legitimate shortage of entry-level workers in this country. And for the first time in United States history, a lot of people don't realize this right now, but our workforce is shrinking for the first time in U.S. history because baby boomers are starting to retire.
Yep.
And they're starting to pull themselves out of the workforce. We're shrinking. Technology is cutting down on numbers of jobs. There's all kinds of problems in the marketplace. So that's actually a big factor. And if we don't take the time to remember that when we're treating with how we're treating people at Disney, those people that currently work at Disney aren't really going to want to work there anymore either.
No. And, I believe we talked about this in a previous episode. There was a chef who was asked to come back to Disney, but he's built such a robust business in during the pandemic, and then as people started to travel, that he said, no, I'm actually doing really well, and he's doing so well. He's got pop-ups planned over the next few months. He's rented out these big mansions and he's doing these taste of events. He a few weeks ago had advertised he was looking for someone who could find their way around the kitchen. They're going to get trained by him, but that position, not a sous chef, not even like a line cook, just someone who can learn under this guy, who's a very talented chef. They're going to start at $20 an hour. So when you hear things like that compared to what the vast majority of people are getting in food and beverage, it's a no-brainer. And I think one more thing is people are feeling this is probably the least loyal time in history people have felt towards an employer, because it's a financial thing if you've got to shut your business down. But Disney did and Universal did the things that they could. They paid out paychecks. They paid insurance for people when things shut down last March. But most companies can't afford to do that.
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, I think also it's been a culture that's been in the making for a long time anyway, because even the last few years in the businesses I've worked and the different companies I've seen and been affiliated with, the loyalty where people used to take a little less money for the comfort of staying there. It's now really what can I get for me? How much money can I get? If somebody comes in $10,000 a year higher or $5,000 a year higher, the loyalty isn't really there. People don't go talk to the other employer about, hey, I just got an offer for 10 grand more. Can you come up 10 grand and I'll stay here? They're just jumping. Like, people are just chasing money. The loyal.
You do have to realize one thing, and I know we've gotten way off a track on what we started talking about, but there's an interesting article I read about how a great point was made when C-suite executives and CEOs say, okay, folks, need you just really lean into it, like you own interest in it, and put your all into it, because the reality is people who pour all that energy into it are not they're not rewarded commensurate to the level that one of those executives who gets the bonuses, or a CEO who gets the bonuses and options. They say, let's lean into this like you own it. For them, it means something different. For you and I, it's it's a difference of what. It's belt tightening, but it's not realistic because of that disparity in earning. So I think you don't even get to put in 20 or 30 or 40 years and get a watch and an awesome pension. That period in it's like that golden employment period in American history is long gone.
Oh, I agree 100%. But okay, so to get back to the theme park side of things, with everything going on, because we can get sidetracked super easy, but the
squirrel.
My dogs, I think they saw one earlier. So going back to theme parks, again, if you're not comfortable with things, you need to do what is best for your family. If you're using a travel agent, have them call, see what they can do. I know recently there's been a lot of issues with flights as well, specifically with Spirit Airlines and Southwest canceling a lot of flights, changing flights around. I've seen a lot of posts with people getting very frustrated with delays, everything else. Summer weather, guys, storms, hurricanes, cells are coming through. Like, these are all realities as well. So they can affect your travel dates. Rental cars, huge hiccup for people. People that would normally say, oh, my flight got delayed 2 days. Now I'm going to rent a car and drive. Can't get a rental car. It's tricky. There's a lot going on. There's so many factors. And as somebody that spends a few hours a day on the phone with these various locations to verify fact from fiction, because a lot of these groups, unfortunately, post ridiculously incorrect info, and you wind up wasting time trying to explain to people that that's not even accurate, and people want to argue with you. Here's what I would tell you, the most important things. If you have concern, you get your information from a reputable source. Do not jump on Facebook and ask a question about what Disney's policy is, or what Universal's policy is, or what your airline's going to do. Call the direct business. Yeah, you're going to sit on hold. Be ready for 2 hours at any major business right now. Your hold time is going to be excessive, but do it on a day you're doing some laundry. Throw your phone on speaker, walk around with it, listen to the hold music, but then ask your question and deal with it in a reliable sense where you're going to get real answers from real people that work for the company.
And jot those questions down. Whatever it is you want to ask, grab a sheet of paper, an index card, have everything written down, because you may be on hold 2, 3 hours, 4 hours. That's not unrealistic. It's happening plenty of times. Happened to me. Have those questions written down. Have your concerns written down, so that when they do answer, you don't have to take any more of their time than necessary. You don't have to struggle going, dang it, I forgot what I was going to ask. Just do yourself a favor and do them a favor, and you'll get all the right information the first time.
All right. So we spent about 30 minutes tonight on the COVID thing, the new policies, the mask updates. and what you can do to change the way that you look at things in theme parks to help yourself have a better experience right now. But now I want to kind of transition back to what we originally tried to do on our last episode, and that's walk you through the parks with the different options you have. And we were talking about Universal Studios last time, and there's still a lot of great things going on at Universal Studios. They are prepping for Halloween Horror Nights, so there's some construction going on in certain places. You may have to walk a little tighter in some of the sidewalks as they're, zoning things off and getting things ready for Halloween Horror Nights. But Universal Studios is a park that Tegan and I love. And we had talked a little bit about the Today Cafe. We had talked about where the photo pass was when you enter, and the souvenir store on your left, Minions and Rip Ride Rocket right after you get past the Minions, and Shrek on your right. And then some great food options and some of the food trucks down there in the park area around Rip Ride Rocket and across the street before you get down to Jimmy Fallon and the Mummy and the Tribute Store, which currently is still toting the Jurassic Park, I believe, but that will be changing soon. That's a great visit. That was one of the coolest things I did at Universal on my last visit. We didn't know about it. We were new pass holders. The Tribute Store located between Jimmy Fallon and the Mummy, amazing. Amazing. It's huge, so well themed. Ask the team members in there. They will find you what you're looking for if they have it or if it's available. They will take suggestions on what they should do. It is really cool to talk with the staff in there, and I can't recommend the Tribute Store enough. On the other side of the park, some of the stuff that you used to be involved with, some of the shows and things were up in that area, where the Bourne Stunt Spectacular is now. If you have not seen that, go in. I am not going to give away anything of the show, but I will tell you it is one of the most technically advanced stage sets I have ever seen, and it is done phenomenally. You will thoroughly enjoy the Stunttacular at Universal Studios. We were very pleasantly surprised and thoroughly enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. And going, even if you've seen it before, with someone who has never seen it, just to focus on their reaction is super cool as well. Because I had the opportunity to go a second time over Memorial Day with my boy Rusty, and Rusty watching his face, having never had seen it, was really cool. So what are your takes on the Stunttacular? Have you seen the new one?
It's an amazing show. It's from inception to launch. I think when a product who the rights holders own have input and say, that's when you see, just to jump parks and brands for a moment, the reality, if you walk through something like Pandora, you do Flights of Passage, every single detail seems to be intentional, and yet it's the kind of thing that you're like, oh, I would never have thought of that. And with the Bourne show, it's kind of fun because some people are familiar with this character, and some folks aren't, but thankfully the show stands its own, and like Brian said, technologically speaking, it's an outstanding tour de force. And this is also something that I'll share. When you're planning your day and you're trying to figure out where you want to go, do things that take care of yourself. For example, if you don't want to be standing and walking your entire day, except for maybe the brief visits to roller coasters and things like that, plan things like that where you're sitting down in climate controlled comfort, and you get to take this whole thing in. Gives you a chance to rest. It gives your mind and your body a chance to unwind. Definitely take advantage of those.
People often ask me, and this is going to sound awful, but people often ask me, like, what do you do in the middle of the day when it's super hot? And I always tell them I go take a nap. And they're like, where do you take a nap? And I'm like, well, Carousel of Progress is great for it.
Sure.
Hall of Presidents is great. The People Mover, believe it or not, if you can sleep in motion, is a former military. I could sleep anywhere. I could probably sleep on Space Mountain if the ride was longer. But like, it's in reality to get into air conditioning, get into a theater and into a seat. If you just need to shut your eye for 20 minutes, some of those shows are great. And once you've seen them once, you may not feel the need to go back in and see them again or pay attention to the same experience. That's where I nap. I'm not even trying to be funny. Sometimes I do enjoy the show and I enjoy seeing it again. But those are great locations where you can take a little rest. And Bourne is not that different than that. You can kind of relax a little and chill out. Like it, even if you're just relaxing your body and not really napping, just to fall into a seat and be in a relaxed environment where you're not tense on a ride, standing the whole time or whatever, you can enjoy yourself. It's like watching a movie. So you can fall back in, relax a little bit without the physical strain that a ride or, roller coaster specifically is going to put on your body. And those things are nice. A lot of people enjoy the Jungle Cruise for that at Disney, or, even though Jurassic's River Adventure winds up in a giant flume, you can have fun with that. Frank, I never got to do Ellen's Adventure. Unfortunately, that was not something we ever did with Tegan when she was little.
Universe of Energy. Yeah.
But a 45-minute nap would have been outstanding when she was 3 if I'd have known about it.
Yeah. No, Universe of Energy. Actually, and if you did know and you were savvy with and Frank will back me up on this, if you knew the order of the cars and it was always the same, it always moved from stage right to stage left. If you climbed into the far back stage right car, which would have been stage left car, which would have been your right, it was always the last car to move. So it was in the darkness the longest. It gave you a little more, shut eye, if that's a thing you needed.
Here we are talking about Three Dads Talk theme parks, and we're talking about how to find a place for a nap.
I'll be honest.
Are old.
I never slept on that ride. I never slept on any of them. But to your point, being able to sit down and relax and enjoy the AC, and for me, Universe of Energy, I'm a dinosaur geek like many people are. So that was another thing, being in one of those that back car, far house right. You went under the dinosaurs. It was pretty cool. So
a lot of people too, to me, one of the things I talk to my clients about, I always want to know, how do you plan to eat while you're at theme parks?
Right.
Are you do you just want to pack some sandwiches and snacks in your backpack and grab the Uncrustable and chug a bottle of water, and that's all you're going to do because you're trying to maximize your money? Or, do you want the sit down break? And personally, Tegan and I have always chosen that we prefer to do the sit down break. And not everybody can afford to do that. And we really can't afford to anymore either. But there's certain sit down locations that are fairly affordable by Disney standards or by Universal standards. The hidden gem for us at Universal is the Today Cafe. We talked about it last show.
Yeah.
That we thoroughly enjoy the plethora of croissants and snacks and muffins and cookies, and they have so many different little desserts and things you can eat. It's incredible. And then on the other side, at Disney, we really like Beaches and Cream, which I've met you at a couple times. Their price point is pretty reasonable to grab a meal. You can eat for under $20, which is crazy at Disney. And you can have a decent sandwich. You can get a decent sandwich and fries for less than $20. And that's something that's kind of nice. But taking that time in your day to recharge, so many parties, I see, say, well, we go to the parks from rope drop to noontime. Then we go back to our hotel till like 4. And then we go back to the parks from 4 to close. And that's fine. And that works for a lot of people. Tegan and I tend to be in the parks open to close.
Right.
So those sit downs really do make a difference for us. And when you schedule a sit down breakfast, then you go have a sit down lunch. And then as the park winds down or after the park closes, you go have a nice sit down dinner and you enjoy the AC and you relax for a bit.
Yeah.
And that at Disney runs traffic out. It does the same thing at Universal too, especially because it's if you can time your last meal at Universal and have a reservation, the key is getting a reservation with Universal. Because if you walk out in the crowd at park close into City Walk, you are not walking up and getting food anywhere for 45 minutes.
No.
So you need to have a reservation. But if you plan ahead and you have a sit down, you walk out of the parks when they close. If it's a 9 o'clock close and you schedule a 9:30 sit down, go to that restaurant, sit down at 9:30. You leave there 10:30, 11 o'clock. Nobody's left.
I'll tell you, I did when we were up at Disney a few weeks ago. We did Epcot open to close, and I'm a fan of the leave in the middle of the day for 2 or 3 hours. Especially, it makes the most sense if you're staying on property, whether that's Universal or Disney, or even if, for example, if you're at SeaWorld, you're staying across the street at Renaissance or something like that. It makes all the sense in the world to leave in the middle of the day when the largest crowds are there, and it's especially in the summer, it's hot and gross and you're sweaty and dehydrated. You go back to your room, rinse off if you want, take a dip in the pool if you want, drink a few bottles of water, nap for an hour if you have to, and then you go back about 4 o'clock or so and you close the park. People are leaving because there's not very many people who can actually do the open to close thing, because kids, if you have kids, forget it. They rule your schedule. And as much as you might, and I know this has happened to you, Brian, where you might want to stay, and I know it's happened to other people out there, but suddenly if your kid or children have other ideas, that's it. You got to go.
With my kid, it's usually, I want to go. She wants to stay. She's a unique breed with that. But I do understand the point 100%. And I will tell you honestly too, when you talk about those dead zones where, like you want to come back and relax at the pool or take some time. That's why I don't leave the parks, because I start to sweat. I start to stink. That's when I finally have enough room around me that nobody wants to get close. So that's when I personally enjoy standing in line the most, because everyone's distance. No one's pushing up on me. They don't want that odor. I'm good. So for me,
everybody watching, take a look at that face. If you see it,
that's what I'm saying. You'll smell me before you see me by 2 o'clock.
But honestly, though, I mean, I know because of the numbers. When I was a leader in the parks, you see that bell curve where, right there in the middle of the day towards right around dinner time, that's when your capacity starts to drop. That's when your attendance starts to drop, and it's really refreshing. So,
but when it comes to like Universal, and this is something people need to keep in mind. So one, obviously weekend nights are much busier. So Friday, Saturday night, always going to be a peak crowd regardless, because a lot of people aren't even going to come in till 6 o'clock. But when you talk that bell curve, it's disillusioning to some people because they feel like, okay, the park's going to be dead. The park based on capacity will be quiet.
Right.
But there's still going to be 30, 40,000 people in the park. So when the park closes, depending where you are, maybe 10,000. But when the park closes and everybody walks out together, it's still a huge crowd. It's not like you're going to be walking out alone. You know what I mean? Like it is very rare that you would see that. So the recommendation to do a late dining reservation or try to get that, like we had touched on in past
Yes.
episodes as well, gives you the opportunity. One, you may actually walk out into an empty park, which is a very novel and amazing experience, because if you're not one of the first people in the park or one of the people that stays till the very end when security ushers you out, you've never really seen that.
Right.
And you know, you've only ever seen a park with people in it. Tegan and I, one of our favorite things is to get those pictures in places
Yeah.
where we're the only people standing. I have
Yeah.
a great picture of me, the only person in Galaxy's Edge in Star Wars land,
Yeah.
in Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios. We have a picture of us being the only one on Main Street in Magic Kingdom. We have pictures doing after hours event where we're the only people in eye shot at Animal Kingdom. So you can experience some amazing things staying a little later at night. You're still not going to anger or frustrate the staff unless you start to be the problem child, which
Right.
they're going to make you aware nicely. They'll never force you out, but you'll start to understand they're waiting on you. And
Yeah.
it would be appreciated if you leave because they've already had a long day.
But honestly, that's such a great idea, because it's a wonderful way to wind down after your day. Go to a restaurant, go to a sit down location with that end of day reservation.
Yep.
You don't have to eat a big heavy meal, but just being able to sit down for that 30-45 minutes to an hour and just relax, maybe have a drink or two, and also be sure to tip generously, because many of those people that are taking care of you are working doubles, because a lot of those facilities are so short staffed. But like Brian said, when you're done, you walk out of that air conditioned comfort back out into the beautiful air you can wear, that is Florida nights, and you look around, and it is such a beautiful experience to photograph the parks and the facades at night when there aren't people around and the lights just pop.
And you'll notice that at all the facilities. I can say that I've noticed that at SeaWorld, at
Mm-hmm.
Universal,
Yes.
at Disney.
Yeah.
They all have a unique, flavorful difference that is just really cool to take in as you depart at night. And we've gone to parks so early, we're there in the dark in the morning. Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, a lot of the early hour facilities, when they first opened Toy Story, Hollywood Studios was on that real early open
Oh
for a
yeah.
long time. When Pandora started
Same
being one of the
thing.
most popular rides at Disney, they were the same thing. At Universal, they do it with Hagrid's. They've done that for a long time, where sometimes you're standing outside, it's still dark.
Yeah.
You're arriving at dark, and you wait and you watch the sunrise, and you're one of the first people in the park. It's a super amazing and cool experience. And like Ron said, not only do you get the pictures and the feel and the ability to relax, sometimes we go in and we just order an appetizer and have a drink or two, and then we leave. We don't necessarily stay for the full meal sometimes. It depends. But when you walk out, you've had a chance to reboot. And when you walk into a park to rope drop, everybody's amped. Everybody's on that that euphoria of arrival. It's like when you walk into a casino. You're full of optimism and joy and you're going to win, and then the reality hits and you look at your bank account when you leave, and that energy is kind of like it's drained from you. Disney does that to you because you're so tired from doing so much and it's so overstimulating. Same with Universal. There's so much to take in.
Mm-hmm.
When you finally shut down your mind to leave the park at the end of the night, your body is often hurting. It's exhausted.
Oh yeah.
It's you're walking out, you're sore, you're not comfortable, you don't really feel great. I will tell you, it's a bit of a mental game, but when you sit down to enjoy that restaurant and you have some fluids and you get your body temperature down, you give it a half hour to rest off your feet, And it's almost like that 30 minutes before bed when you kick your shoes off. Now, you don't really want to get up again when that meal's over. You're kind of like, oh, I wish they just had a roll away that I could just crash here for the night and start here tomorrow. But once you get outside and you see the castle and it's just you, or just you and 10 other people, and you start to see the immensity of the park and you feel like it's there just for you, it's overwhelming, and it helps ease that pain as you leave. Whereas when you walk out with 5,000 other people, all you hear is the grunting, the groaning, the complaining, the people, oh my God, I can't believe I have to wait. Look at the line for the monorail. Oh God. Oh, look at the line for the buses.
I got to tell you that, when I worked for Disney in attraction operations, I'd go in hours early. My my shift might not start till, I don't know, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, because you got to get in, get the attraction up and running. I'd go in before sunrise. You can hear the BGM, the background music, you see the lights. They've hosed down all the streets. I do the same thing at Universal, whether I was at West or Terminator. The streets have been hosed down, and the park is just sparkling and ready for that new wave of guests. But it's just you and the space. And at the end of the day, when you're walking out of the restaurant, it's the same thing. You're getting that added bonus of just you and the space, and it really is magical. It really is.
It really, and I've tried to explain it to people, because people will, you'll hear people make the dream comment, I've always wanted to go to Disney just by myself and have the park to myself for the day. And when you find those moments or those corners or those places where you suddenly stand, and those are some of my favorite times to engage cast members or team members.
Yep.
Because while you stand there, I'll tell a quick story about Animal Kingdom. We were at Animal Kingdom during an afternoon. We were in line to meet Minnie and Mickey at the trading post there across from A Bug's Life. And we were in line to wait, and there was two cast members, Jem, and I forget the other girl's name off the top of my head, but they were greeters. We talked to them for a couple minutes. We had given them a couple thank you cards, and we stood in line and waited to meet Minnie and Mickey. And Minnie and Mickey were taking a hiatus after our meet. We were the last group. And one of the coordinators that was roving the area at the time, her name was Nicole. She was in to remind the staff that it was time for Mickey and Minnie to take a hiatus. And she stood while we were getting our pictures done, and we gave some cards out and we talked for a moment. And she took Tegan by the hand as we left and told her, how much it had touched her that we said thank you. And they started to talk, and she was a college program holdover that had stayed and continued to work for Disney. And she now works at Give Kids the World. Or is that what it's called? Give Kids the World, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. She amazing girl, absolutely amazing. And she took Tegan and started to talk to Tegan about the college program. And she took Tegan by the hand and she walked her down to a section where the seating is for Flame Tree Barbecue, kind of behind the trading post. But the restaurant had been closed and people weren't really sitting out there, and it was later at night. And they were just about to show, later in the afternoon, I guess. And they were just about to show the Rivers of Light show when it was there. And she said, I want to show you the best place to see the show. And she said, no one comes over here. They all sit in the stadium. She said, but I like to come back here and look at it from behind and watch the show and look at the crowd and watch the people watching it. But it's one of the best views in the park. And she took the moment to show her, and I snapped a picture of just her and Tegan standing alone by the water. And it's one of my favorite pictures of Tegan and a cast member because there's no one else in the photo. It's the two of them in this expansive space. And what Nicole taught Tegan about taking it all in and enjoying something that she gets blessed enough to see every day.
Right.
And there's so many cast members and team members that find the joy through. I said this to somebody the other day. When you're on vacation, you have an expectation of enjoying yourself and having fun. And these people expect the cast members to be magical and make their experience and everything else.
Right.
But I ask them, I always turn this on my customer or my guest when I'm helping them plan. And I say, imagine you at your work being told that you should feel like you're on vacation every day. It doesn't work. This is still a job for people. And the extraordinary side of Disney is that they have thousands of people who go to that job every day and take the time to remember why they're there.
Yep.
And enjoy it and find the love and joy in that occupation. And yet guests can go in and steal that magic from a cast member with a lousy attitude or an expectation. And it's one of the only businesses in the world where people are expected to behave like they too are on vacation every single day. You don't deal with that at your job in an average workplace.
Right.
When someone gets mad at you, you expect it to ruin your day. You expect, well, I had a really bad customer this morning. That's why I'm being a grouch. But if you do the same thing at Disney, oh, that's intolerable. That's not tolerable. We can't allow that.
It's funny that you say that. In traditions, you're taught, we work while others play, and that you're going to work on your birthday, during holidays. But I can't tell you. I lost count of the number of people who would ask me, it's like, wow, you must like working here. And, it's like, yeah, I've been here 10 years, 15 years, 20. So it's not just because I've been here that long, but what I get to do. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, refilling my pixie dust bucket by walking over to see One Man's Dream, which incidentally was something I brought Addison to when we went a few weeks ago. And I thought, she's 7. I think she's going to appreciate this, but I don't know to what level. And she was and she's been telling everybody, she's like, I saw Walt Disney. I heard him talk. He's the guy that built all the parks. And, and so it really resonated with her too, which I got to say,
that's awesome.
Really, really touched my heart. But more often than not, people who go to work in the theme park industry are not doing it for the money. They're doing it. They're doing it for the love and passion of being able to make a difference.
And let's be honest, some of the perks are pretty nice.
It's true.
I mean, if we're going to be fair, it's funny. I work as a DJ, and I have countless people that say, "Oh my gosh, your job must be so fun," and I said, "It's work," and they're like, "Oh, come on, you're the life of the party," but I'm never at the party,
right?
And that's something people don't understand. You can provide and create the magic for another, and that is your reward. But it's not the way people perceive it.
No. And honestly, my good fortune, and for anyone else in entertainment at a park, at a theme park, you're getting to have fun, and you're getting paid to do it, and you're getting to entertain other people. And then you get to go talk to those people after the show or after whatever it is you've done. And it's pretty awesome.
That's the side of Disney that I absolutely love, though, because as a cast member, at least pre-COVID, and I understand part of that has been pulled back on because of the short-staffed issues and everything else. But pre-COVID, cast members are encouraged to interact with guests. There's a reason you see 4, 5, or 6 bodies greeting you at the front of a ride, because they know there's going to be 3 to 4 people all the time
So
pulling them aside to answer questions or to help guide them through the park or explain the
it's the
rules.
exact same business model for the cruise line, for the Disney Cruise Line. That's they want the officers and the crew members out there talking to guests. Same
Yeah, and
exact thing.
that is an amazing side of that company for me, always has been. And I mean, I've seen the post now where people complain there's not as many people out, there's not as many lanes open, there's not as many this or that. And that is as a result of the pandemic. That's not
Yep.
as a result of a change of a business model. That is just them forced to deal with the realities of the current climate of the workplace. And that's why I say sharing that care, compassion,
Yep.
showing some concern,
And courtesy.
and courtesy, but the concern for others in the sense that respect other people's opinions, even if you don't agree with it. The care of trying to take care of yourself, but also caring enough to take care of the other people that are there by showing them that courtesy and
Right.
concern and compassion during a difficult time. And when you throw all those C words around and not any other ones, you enjoy a wonderful experience, and your vacation can still be very fulfilling even during COVID.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that I really wanted to touch on this week, because when we saw the mass mandates coming back, the panic on the pages, the speculation, the rumor mills unwind. Even today there has been so much speculation as Disneyland released their information today on their new annual pass program. There's all kinds of speculation and rumor coming out. People, Disney World announced today annual passes will return to sale before October 1st. The details of it have not been specified, have not been released, have not been cleared. They'll be coming out in coming weeks. But understand, they will have a program in place. Might it be a different one? Yep. Might it be similar to what Disneyland chose to do? Very well could be. We don't know. But don't speculate and start throwing rumors around, because the rumors are really so damaging, because most people don't follow these pages religiously. Most people don't follow these sites religiously. And they may have a family vacation planned, and you're spitting information that they're taking to fact. Now, they get to the park, and guess what? They're tying up a cast member that has to debunk this information. Now they're possibly even disappointing that consumer or that guest. Your trickle down effect of spreading a rumor or speculating something on a page without expressing that this is simply your opinion and you typing it as fact can do so much damage down the chain of events that, as a travel agent, I implore you to only share fact, because it is so hard for us as it is to spend 2 hours on hold just to book that vacation for somebody
Right.
else. To have you ruin it with a rumor is even more frustrating.
So
Because
let me just real quickly jump in and share. Those of you that are asking those questions, just be aware. As Brian said, go to the legitimate source. Anybody on
100%.
social media, on most of these pages, they just like me. I am not the official voice of Disney. I am not speaking on behalf of Disney. I'm sharing my own
Nor am
personal
I.
experiences, and those people that answer your questions that you throw out there, they are not the voice of that particular park, that particular line of business, that particular entity. So you're just better off taking the time to reach out to Disney. I mean, they're overworked and understaffed right now, especially their call centers. But you can reach out and ask them to call you back, and they will. It may not happen that day, but when it does, have that list of questions and ask those questions. You're going to get that information directly from the source. And if they don't have the information, I promise you they'll track it down for you. but don't rely on people that are just throwing information out there.
That I think is one of the problems, because even what seems like a very reputable site or blog or anything else, Walt Disney World News Today, is it's a blogger.
Yep.
He is not an official employee of Disney. Now, they usually are very good about what they vet, because they started getting the reputation of not being real good for a while. So they have tried and improved a lot. But there are sources that seem very legit. They're sharing like an official Walt Disney World blog or whatever. If it's not from Walt Disney World themselves as a company, don't trust the information. It's still an article being written by someone who's taking, and they may link you to real factual information from Disney, but make sure that that link brings you to an official Walt Disney World website.
Yep.
Same with Universal. If you're seeing, some of the most popular bloggers, Tim Tracker or Mr. Tom Morrow, or,
Yep.
all these different bloggers that are out doing things, they still can get it wrong. They still make speculations sometimes. And sometimes the information they're sharing is their opinion, much like some of the information we share here. And this is our opinion as we talk about stuff. But when you need factual info and want to back up info for your upcoming trips or vacations, and you're making decisions with your money, especially, ensure that you are going to the source that is going to give you the proper answer to make a well-informed decision that is going to be best for you and your family, and not listening to other families, other opinions, anything else. Get your info from the source, then make a decision what's best for you. And I can't recommend that enough. As a travel agent, we get the information for our clients. I'll make a call and ask a question. I can relay that info back to you, but I'll also very gladly give you the number to contact directly right to Disney yourself and find out for yourself if you don't believe what I'm telling you. So it's the best way. And with so much changing with COVID, you have to keep an open mind, be fluid, understand the rule today may not be the rule tomorrow or in 2 weeks when you go. And you can't count on that. And you can't really get angry at Disney or another organization for following CDC or federal guidelines that are being mandated or recommended, and then the company chooses to do what is in that company's best interest. Disney, trust me, they do not want to close down parks. They will do everything they can to keep people safe and in those parks to stay open and make money. They are still in the business of making money. They're not going to close down just because somebody says it's a good idea. They are doing their due diligence and doing their research on what is going to be best for them and the consumer to walk the balance of what benefits both. But don't get upset if it doesn't go your way. You got to live with stuff sometimes. We all have to, especially right now. And remembering those C words is super important. Can't say it enough. Like, you really do need to remember compassion, care, courtesy, all of it, and express your concerns, but get the info from the right source. Guys, thanks for joining us. Episode 6 tonight, talking a little bit about everything. We kind of touched on it all. Want to thank you very much. We appreciate you guys very much, as always. Share with your friends. If you want to send us topic ideas, message the page. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and we will do so. Thank you very much. Ron, if you want to say a couple words.
I echo everything Brian said. Please, we're doing this for ourselves because we could talk for hours, as you can tell, but we're doing it for you as well. If you got questions, thoughts, while we're talking, feel free to fire off something in the chat. Let us know. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know about your experiences. Let us know if you've got a trip coming up. And we want this to be something that we build together. Okay, we're here for each other. We're all here for each other.
And I think next week we will touch on Islands of Adventure, since we kind of touched on Universal and have walked through the majority of that park. Next week we'll try to touch IOA a little bit and talk about some of the exciting new changes and new rides like Velocicoaster that we have had the opportunity to ride. Well, I have. And, just kind of walk you through the park and tell you how you can kind of beat those crowds, get in there, enjoy some of the things, and find some of the food options. Again, making some advanced dining reservations, highly recommended right now at any park. Do as much planning as you can, but still just remember, you're going to have to still be flexible, even with reservations and everything else in place. But guys, we will see you next week, Tuesday night, 9:00, same bat time, same bat channel,
Same Mickey time, same Mickey channel.
Yeah, that too. Whatever it is. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Much love, everybody.